Can you hear us, Stuart?
Good morning.
Hello, Stuart. Great to have you with us. Thank you for coming in. I just need to open up the meeting in our usual procedure and then we'll hand over to you. Comfortable with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Morning, councillors. Welcome to our presentation meeting today. We have sharing with us in the first half hour MP for Kaikoura, Stuart Smith. And but before that, if I can just, I have received an apology from Vince Daly and an apology for lateness from Fiona Harris. Can I please have a move and a second that we receive those? Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Pauline. All in agreement to that, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. Health and safety procedure. You're all aware of procedures entering the exit the door that you entered, or to my left here, and our assembly points. We would normally start our agenda with reading the affirmation, but given today we have our presentations from both Stuart and Sergeant Rob Irvine, I am going to, I know that you will consider the presentations with the integrity that our affirmation does provide us. Is there any conflict of interest declarations from councillors? No, thank you. And we are recording the meeting as per usual. Graham, thank you. Is there any urgent business that needs to be received, councillors? No, thank you. Okay, Stuart, that means that we're ready to have a chat with you, and perhaps if you give us an insight of where things are heading from a central government perspective, and you know, I guess drilling that down to what that means for us in the Hiranui, and then there'll probably be some questions that might come from that. So, but yeah, good to have a bit of an overview from your perspective. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And it was good to spend some time with you a week or so ago when we had a bit of a meeting up in Waikari, and went down the Scargill Valley to look at and discuss drought with Mark Patterson from New Zealand First, and a Minister for Local Rural Communities, I think it is. But it was good anyway, opportunity to get boots on the ground. And while we weren't in the most or the worst affected drought area, it was a good idea to get into that area just for other reasons. And I think Mark was suitably struck by what he saw. I note there's a meeting or an event on Friday night, which I'm unable to get to due to prior commitments, but which is going to be held for the rural community. And I think it's a great opportunity for people to get together and to discuss those issues. That when Mark was there was an announcement of extra funding for drought relief. And while there's been rain, of course, a lot of the damage has already been done. And as we come into spring, of course, you know, we're hoping that farmers get a good run with some better weather and are able to make the most of what they do given the circumstances. So, you know, I'm happy to take more questions on that. But you know, it's certainly something that I've raised with my colleagues, and you know, it's of great concern, I think, to the community, how quickly and how severe the damage is that's been done to people's balance sheets, and how they can get back on their feet. While we're discussing balance sheets, the banking inquiry, which is I'm leading, we have opened for submissions. And so they close, I think it's it's either the 24th or the 25th of September. I haven't got that in front of me, but I think it's kind of both. It's 1 minute to midnight on the 24th. So that'll be quite good. It's got quite a rural focus as well as, but it is really primarily a banking inquiry over the whole sector. The Commerce Commission did an inquiry into, or a market study into, personal banking. This is into all of the sectors: personal, mortgage lending, commercial lending, and rural lending. It's also looking at what are the settings from the Reserve Bank and the capital requirements a factor. That's been quite widely covered, and it's something I look forward to. So the banks, of course, are all our big four. Well, it's a really big five because Rabobank is a big operator in the rural sector, and the four big Australian banks. And there's an argument that they're making too much profit, and we will see whether they are or not. That's something I've got an open mind on. And what are the causes of that? Well, we know they're the most profitable banks for their size, according to commentary in the media anyway. So we want to drill down into that and find out if that's correct or not. And what impact, and as it goes to Huranui anyway, is that having on rural lending? And is it fair or is it not? Is it justified or is it not? So that'll be an interesting period. The fast track consenting bill is making quite good progress through the Environment Committee. And as you know, there is at least one from Huranui and the project in there, which is the irrigation, the Huranui irrigation scheme, and potential weir on Lake Sumner, which I'd see as a community project, in that it could provide potable water for Amberley, which is growing, and which I think is fantastic, and particularly when the Woodian bypass actually is completed, Amberley will grow at a faster rate, I expect, than it is at present. So, this is a recess week this week. We're back to Parliament next week, and we've got a very busy legislative program. It has been reported, and it's factually correct, that we have used urgency more frequently than I think has ever been used. But we had a lot of, quite frankly, very poor legislation we had to get rid of. And so we did that, so it didn't have any impact. It stopped or stalled a whole lot of work going on needlessly at needless expense. So we've dealt with that. We're bringing in new legislation, and we have got a jam-packed schedule right through to Christmas. We will be back in Parliament in the last, I'm probably not meant to say this. So we're going to be back earlier than we'd normally be, which is a good thing. So look, I think I'll leave it there and take questions.
Yep, that's great. Thanks, Stuart, for that overview. And I do want to acknowledge your presence. I think we've seen you 2 or 3 times out on the farm gate and having those discussions with with the farmers present. And I know that it was really meaningful from their perspective to, get that voice and have that advocacy met. So, it's great to be able to, build and foster that relationship that we have. And actually the net effect is that there was some support for feed provision for some of our farmers that had, once they have a vet assessment on their feed conditions, that there is some funding through that process as well. So all of this came from conversations that I had in the paddock and on those days. So it was good to be able to have you there and be our advocate as well. And further afield, Stuart. So, but yeah, so how about we just open it up for some questions and see if there is some inquiry from a councillor perspective on either what they've heard or what they're feeling out in the community at the moment. So thanks. Thanks, Robbie.
Yes, it's good to see Minister Simeon Brown's announcement coming up with lots of money to infrastructure and roading things. This is coming not long after Waka Kotahi's been unable to support us in our bid for the work we would like to do in that area. Is there any kind of flow through from that announcement through Waka Kotahi through to the likes of ourselves to do what we need to do in our patch?
Well, I think what a lot of has been announced, the roads of national significance, of course, which is a big announcement. Some things are operational and some things are at a ministerial level. Or NZTA, as we call them anyway. They have been told to prioritise on things. We're sick of a lot of these speed bumps and things that have been infesting our roads, and we want people to want them to focus on good roads, good road surfaces, and building roads that actually help traffic move more efficiently. So that's the main focus. In terms of Hiranui, what's been announced is what's been announced, and the other work that NZTA that might be able to do in your around Amberley and on the main road, on the main road is actually NZTA's main focus, and of course then you go into secondary roads, you have a role in that.
Just, Stuart, you may well be aware, but in the announcement yesterday in the future investment, the regionally and nationally significant activities, admittedly it's not in the NLTP through 27 to 30, but in Canterbury there are 4 projects and Hiranui is named Carter's Road Improvements. Now, that's something that I've been speaking about at our regional meetings for a long time. So whilst it's not in this window, it's, we need to keep making certain, because of the issues around what you've just talked about, Stuart, with the Amberley growth, with the Woodend bypass, that'll make accessibility into the city much easier. And that is a position that I've been taking on behalf of this council for a while. So I was pleased to know that it was going to be there. Oh, sorry, Hamish. Comment.
I just sort of comment on the Sir Member Brown's announcement of the National Land Transport Program. So that announcement confirmed the indicative announcement that we'd had from NZTA regarding our funding. So it simply confirmed what you already knew. It's not, it's new to the public, but you've had a heads up.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what that announcement is. But you already knew it, but it's just that it's being made public.
Yeah, that's thanks, Hamish. So Robbie, that's the position. That's where we find ourselves. That's our bucket of money, and we'll be doing our very best to ensure that we deliver the best result for the community. But any other questions from councillors of Stuart? Oh, we're all quite
We're going to get off lightly.
Yeah, I reckon you can go and have a cup of tea. All right, Robbie's come with a second question. Have you, Robbie?
Dare we ask about ferries and things? Anything in the wind?
Well, I'm limited in what I can say, but I think you have to, and I'm sure you're aware that we have, Kiwi Rail had signed a contract with Hyundai to build those new ships, and that's not just a contract with Hyundai. That triggers a whole lot of contracts that Hyundai signed to fulfill that contract with different suppliers. So that's not a simple process to unwind. There was an article written a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, that appeared in Stuff about by I think a maritime union spokesperson about how disastrous it would be if we lost rail-enabled ferries. I think that was quite misleading. Well, in fact, it was quite misleading. The reality is that some years ago, Kiwi Rail, Centreport and Port Marlborough travelled to Europe to look at ferries and to look at rail-enabled ferries as well as ferries. There was only one operational rail ferry which was being retired. They've been retired around the world because they're not that efficient. And while there is more requirement of handling to unload trains and load the containers onto small trailers or specialty trailers and to tow those onto the ship and then reverse the process at the other end. The problem with rail ferries is that the rail wagons have to go in straight lines, and so that you're not as able to load the deck as efficiently as you can with wheeled trailers or trucks, and to spread the load out much more efficiently. Also, rail wagons are very heavy, empty, let alone with their payload. And so they are not as efficient, and that's why people have gone away from them. And so I'm not saying we're not going to have rail-enabled ferries. I'm just saying that you only got part of the story if you read that article. Rest assured that we have said that we are well aware of how important State Highway 1 is, and that includes from Picton to Wellington, and we will ensure that we have a good service across there. However, we do already have a very good private provider that you never hear about and never has any public money involved with it. So, all is not lost. And even if we had elected to keep throwing money at what was the IREX project, and we didn't. I think we can be pretty sure that wouldn't have been the end of it, that I wanted more, yet more. The reality is the ships weren't going to be delivered until late 2026 and not able to berth because the portside works, the landside works wouldn't have been completed then. So we're no worse off right now than we would have been had we agreed to continue funding it.
Thank you. Hamish has got a comment coming, Stuart.
Sure, we acknowledge the importance of State Highway 1 as far as getting freight between the North Island and Christchurch, but we also acknowledge the importance of the inland road for that freight that's over length and over width, and in particular the Conway Bridge, which is an important part of that link. So, any conversation about freight on State Highway 1 north of Christchurch has to consider the inland road and that particular bridge, which is due for replacement within the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm very happy to support you on that one, Hamish. I think it's absolutely vital, and very happy if your council wants to write to the minister and copy me in on that. I would be very happy to do it, or you can write to me if you like, and I'll take it to the minister. Either way.
Okay. Very
happy to do that. I think one other thing about the mega ferries, which I didn't touch on, as it turns out, it seems unlikely they would have been able to transit through Tory Channel, and that would have added an hour to the crossing time, at least.
Cool. So yeah, I think a letter, 8 years comes around pretty quickly as far as Conway Bridge goes. So I think if we can raise that and keep that front and centre, that'd be really useful with your support. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah, it's a very important issue. As we know, it doesn't take that much to close that coastal route.
No, that's right. It's vulnerable. It can be vulnerable. That's fine. Just a couple of things. Vince is away today, Stuart, but he has asked me, and there may be a group up in Cheviot have spoken with you already in regard to opening up the Jed River and the stringent rules that don't enable that. I'm not sure whether you've got any insight or you've had any localised conversations around that, but Vince did ask me to raise that this morning with you. So maybe I need to, if you're not aware of it, I need to get Vince to talk to you or get someone.
No, I'm very aware of it, and I've raised it in Select Committee. One of the other things I'm doing, which I heard, is the climate adaptation inquiry, and I have raised this. And the Wairoa River in the Bay of Northern Hawke's Bay, Gisborne area, had flooding that was much worse than it needed to be because the Wairora bar wasn't opened ahead of a forecast rain event because of uncertainties about council action and so on, and not able to couldn't make a decision, and it didn't get open. And so that's one of the things I've raised on the in select committee. And those floods, if you recall, a couple of years ago, I'm sure you do, in Canterbury, where the riverbeds fairways were not clear. I've made the point in select committee. We haven't written our report yet, but I want to ensure, well, I'll certainly be advocating that be included. We live, actually our forebears planted willow trees to control rivers to stop them flooding all over the Canterbury Plains, which are apt to do. So we live in a highly modified environment. Now there is a move amongst regional councils to rewild the rivers, which drives flooding. And I think that they've got to get back to basics and keep those fairways clear of gorse, broom and willow trees so that the rivers can flood without breaching their banks, and having the ability to keep the mouth open of rivers like the Jed and others that have these issues. And that's, we can't stop floods or heavy rainfalls. What we can do is ensure that there's little damage done as possible by managing the things that we can manage, which is the riverbeds themselves and the mouths.
The problem, Stuart, working in the rivers, to get a consent to be able to work in the rivers is an absolute nightmare and an absolute cost. Because again, that mudfish has got a lot to be answered for. We're continually piping, bridging, and to get the metal out of a river can be actually quite hard to set. And the consents can say you're not allowed to work in the river. So how do you remove willows that are in the centre without putting a digger into a river? And how do you stop flying water in the river without damming it? And that's just all bizarre.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, and I understand that. And yeah, my recommendation would be to make that something that can be done without consent.
Just with that in mind, Stuart, the climate action inquiry that is being undertaken at the moment, will that actually unfold some of these issues? Do you think?
That's the aim of it. It's
yeah.
So the adaptation inquiry will inform debate further, and obviously there'll be an adaptation plan and adaptation legislation that will have to come in at some point, and this inquiry is to get a view, and the committee is writing a report on that basis.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions from councillors? No, I know we've asked it the last couple of times we've talked. It's probably sitting in Ross's thinking as well, but the Great Walk, that was an election promise. I know we've heard a lot more since then around the state of the nation, state of the books, but I guess it's still a desirable outcome from our community's perspective. Any guide on that, Stuart?
No, but again, if you wrote to me about it, that would probably be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no doubt the opportunity that it would, the tourism opportunities for Hanmer Springs would be amazing, and Kaikoura itself.
Mm.
I know they're very keen.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Just around the room, nothing else? Hey, thanks, Stuart. It's been a really helpful discussion, and it's, you know, we always appreciate getting an insight from a central government perspective and, you know, drill it down, I guess, to consider the, you know, the issues or the options, I guess, from our district's perspective. So good to hear that you're on recess this week, but you'll be back into it next week, no doubt, back in Wellington. But appreciate that you've given us half an hour of your valuable time this morning. We've got a couple of actions. We're going to write around the Conway Bridge and around the Great Walk option. If that's the desire of this council, we'll make sure those letters get to you or get to Minister Brown. So
Thank you.
that's awesome. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Good on you. Thanks, Stuart. Rightio, councillors, we can probably have an early morning tea, and we've got Rob Irvine, Sergeant Rob Irvine, coming at 10:45. So perhaps if we're back round the table, excuse me, in time for that, for his presentation, and then we'll pick up some of those issues that we haven't completed at the conclusion of our formal meeting. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Welcome back, councillors, and it's great to have Sergeant Rob Irvine with us again. We always look forward to having a conversation with you and your colleagues as well, because we know how important your team is to the health and safety of our community. And you know, I'm guessing that you have probably had some oversight. I mean, you know, these fires that are happening across our district are really worrying for many, many people, you know, and yeah, I guess, you know, you will be playing, your teams will be playing some part to play like what we are as well, you know, but certainly we understand that it's a team's operation, and you know, just want to acknowledge the volunteer firefighters that are, you know, drop of a hat, they have to leave their homes and business and attend to these calls, which, you know, when I think about the year we've had, I mean, I know that the calls that have had in the height of summer, but, you know, they've been ongoing and the demands have been high. So, yeah, but keen to hear from your perspective, Rob, how things are as far as, I guess, health and safety aspect across the district. You know, if there's any trends that we need to be aware of course we are live streaming, so this is a public meeting, and but it's always good to have some insights. And I think then we've got one question that have come through that Tom no doubt will sort of perhaps ask those questions as well. But if you're happy to give us a bit of an overview from your perspective, we'd welcome that, and great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for having me again. Used to hear the fires up in the base a few times, and Des Irving, been worked with a few times on a few different fires, been in touch with them quite a bit. And yeah, certainly appreciate what those volunteers do. They're incredible. Give up their time and away from their families all the time. Working tirelessly trying to get that under control. We don't have a lot to do with it, to be honest. We're just keeping in touch if they need a hand with evacuations and things. But it doesn't sound like it's really going to get to that stage unless more of the health hazard with smoke and things is probably the main issue. But we'll support them wherever we can. Crime-wise, we are up and down as usual. We have spoke recently with quite a few diesel thefts, petrol thefts from around the area, farms and vineyards and the like. Waiata got hit quite hard I've got a lot of frost fans. We have got some pretty strong suspects for these fuel thefts and other rural thefts. So we're doing quite a bit of work on those people at the moment. Pretty well known, regular offenders that keep coming back from away for a little while and come back out and do the same thing. So it's pretty frustrating. But we've got a good team of people working on it. We've got the CIB, which you would know about in Rangiora, and they work on a lot of sexual crime, adult sexual offending and child sexual offending. So and they'll work on some of the more major stuff, but we've also got the TCU, or the Tactical Crime Unit in Rangiora, which is now, it was 2 staff, but we're up to 3 there. So they can focus on these dishonesty type crimes that we're looking at, which is fantastic because, I mean, nicking fuel in Oxford and Hiranui and different parts of Hiranui and Rangiora. So they've sort of brought it all together and can focus on who we're looking at, who don't live in Hiranui either. They know the area, but they're living elsewhere. So that's really beneficial. Yeah, we've still got the rats and mice going on, a lot of family harm still. Getting called out to, a lot of crashes too recently. We've been lucky that it hasn't gone the other way in some of them. Been pretty close and some pretty nasty crashes, but only sort of that much sometimes anyway. So we've been a bit fortunate there, but it's still a worry, and there's been most worrisome stretch of road, I guess, is between Amberley and Saltwater Creek, where we've had a few bad accidents in the last year or 2, and 3 in the last couple of weeks on the stretch of road, so that's not stopping. Police in general have got a government, as you know, a real focus on road policing. We've been given some pretty hefty targets to reach in relation to enforcement and breath testing. So the pressure is really coming on there. We have to deliver, otherwise we won't get funding. Canterbury alone, if we don't reach our target, we'll miss out on over $20 million in funding. So it's not a we'll try and achieve it, we have to achieve it, otherwise we'll
And if would that funding loss impact on staffing numbers? Would that
possibly, yeah.
okay.
And I mean, staffing numbers, all government departments are under the spotlight. So, we've got to deliver, and I'm sure we will. And the focus is on that at the moment, and we're just ramping that up as well. So, silly, don't make any apologies for the enforcement action that's coming everyone's way.
So will that mean like more the booze buses will do like sessions or
We'll try and get them out a little bit more, but it's more what we can do locally as local police, local Hiranui officers we're funded by Waka Kotahi to deliver, funded 50% of our operating budget is funded by Waka Kotahi. So we, and they're not getting their bang for their buck, really. So, and fair enough, they're asking for more.
Yeah.
So that area, Amberley to Saltwater Creek, we'll call it Waikuku, the Ashley Bridge.
Yeah.
I drive up and down here quite a bit, and a lot between Colvin and Amberley. I never think that that's a highly patrolled area versus Amberley to Colvin. That's 3 or 4 5 going up and down there.
Yeah.
But you just, is that because it falls under Rangiora and not as active as what you are?
Probably right in a way, actually.
So maybe let's focus down there would be a good idea.
Yeah, no, good point.
Because seriously, I travel a lot. So, I have learned my cruise control.
Same.
Not, get to 95 Division, should learn about it, but,
Yeah,
but down here, you hardly ever see anyone.
yeah, I mean, it's probably the fact that, especially rural officers, I mean, Amberley's the base for Hurunui rural staff, so they'll come down here a bit, and the highway guys will travel the state sevens and ones. But it's more congested between here and Saltwater or south, so they'll come out that way, the highway guys, and then they'll spread out up here.
Or is it, it may not be speed, so you're not catching them. There's no incentive to go down there because they're not catching us on speeding. But I'm just saying to you, you're telling me that's where all the accidents occur. That's maybe where it.
Yeah, good observation. We'll pass it on. More focus on that area.
I could do a survey. I'm good on.
He's very good on surveys.
I could sit there and have a coffee here now, but I'm dropping Vanessa and Pauline out for the bus in Waikuku, couldn't I, really?
Rightio, Dave, thank you. Gary's got a question, I think.
Madam Mayor, just on the same point, Rob, in the sense that you see a lot of highway patrol guys who are based obviously in Rangiora using the back road and then Lawcox Road to come out to the highway. I'm just thinking out loud here, but if they actually put more emphasis in the way they plan their day and to and from, in fact, not coming the back road out through the Waikuku and then using State Highway 1 from Waikuku north or whatever to get home, it would actually increase the frequency, because I don't think they pick up a lot of stuff on the back road, but they'll always be seeing stuff on State Highway 1.
I think they are picking up stuff on the back road.
Are they?
That's probably why they're going.
Okay, yeah.
Because there is a bit of speeding.
Yeah, but there's a less accident risk on that back road versus State Highway 1, isn't it?
Yeah, and the railway crossing.
Yep,
Quite
yep,
heavy, so, people failing to stop signs, I think, on the railways.
No, thank you.
Cool, good points. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. And then Gary, Robbie.
I was just going to ask, Robert, is there any common factors in the accidents? I mean, some of the ones that come down to people doing dumb stuff is pretty hard to stop, but it's not like road service or speeding or drinking, or are they just a bit of all of the above?
Crossing the centre line, but there can be a variety of factors, and it's, the result compounded with speed as well. As you know, I mean, we've had, they're all crossing centre line, basically. One outside the Red Dairy that was not concentrating, ran straight up the back of someone. One on dash cam I saw from a truck in the ute, that was the one where the van ended up on the side of the road. The ute just drove straight across the centre line, straight into the truck. And anything like that far away from being multiple fatalities.
Sorry, just a second question if I can. From a road safety committee viewpoint, at our road safety advisory committee, yourself and the highway patrol guys have debriefed the committee on the drone initiatives. I wonder if maybe you could just share, Rob, from a police viewpoint, the drone program that highway patrol are now working with.
Yeah, so highway patrol guys have got access to a drone, and they've had a trial in the week past where they've put a drone up for an hour or so, and they caught 7 drivers crossing the centre line. We're doing that more, publicising it as well. It's good use of technology, I guess.
Yeah,
really good to just stop that centre line crossing, which results in crashes. It's good to see.
And they're using it also in Hunderlees and Lewis Pass.
They will be, yeah. It's just fresh off the press room.
Yeah.
So they've only used it once, and I'm aware of so far.
But it doesn't, it's not number plate recognition, it just provides
Yeah, it also
some
quite
evidence of
high,
behaviours,
and it's
yeah.
tethered as well, so you're not tied to a battery life. So there's a thin wire basically, it'll just keep it flying. It just sits up there. Someone's on the ground reading it, and someone down the road stopping the cars.
Yeah.
So it's a white station wagon just coming past Frog Rock or whatever. Who's got a white station wagon? So yeah.
Yes. thank you, welcome Fiona. We're just having some questions here for Rob, so thanks Vanessa.
Rob, this is, like I'm quite new to the South Island, this is a really, really good road. And from city to here, there's that many times I'm on that road and I see these warheads. So this must be, I would say, the main cause of driver distraction and crossing the centre line. What are there any plans in place to help mitigate that, or what can we actually, I mean, you guys are powerless to do anything until after the fact, really, aren't you?
Yeah, and like I was saying, there's enforcement around, especially cell phone, any RIDS offences, which are your restraints, impairment like alcohol, distraction, which are cell phones, and speed. So all those, the RIDS offences are a real focus for us. Cell phones is one of them. And you're right, especially in town. If I'm going for a walk around town, fourth driver's got a cell phone or texting. Quite hard to detect out here in a marked car, but it certainly will be one of our focuses, and seatbelts.
So if you're driving past someone and you see this, I mean, what can you do? What do you do? What can you do?
We can stop them, and if we're not 100% that they've been using a cell phone, because we just see the forehead and see this thing going on, they might deny being on a cell phone. We can have a look and see if they've been talking to someone, but sometimes it's just, yeah, sorry, I was on the cell phone, and they can get a ticket, which is the fines in New Zealand are pretty low, it's $80 for a cell phone ticket, and the demerits hurt more, but it doesn't seem to be getting any better, you're right. People are learning.
Yeah.
Cool. So, did you have a question? No, you're good. Robbie, your hands up.
Yeah, two different areas, Rob. The gang thing, obviously, I see the round up the whole lot the other day, and I thought, you've got directors, I suppose, coming down in that area, and I wonder whether that's changing anything we do here. And the other area is, we've got the usual spots for the burnouts, the big gum trap, the back road and all of that. But in the weekend, we went through to Rangiora and almost outside the showground or something. And I thought, is that the pushback of them going, oh, that's for you? I thought, well, they brought that into the town. I just wonder, like in those two areas, the gangs and the boy races, if how you're being asked to deal with them or whatever, where that's sitting.
Yeah, boy races is a separate thing to gangs, quite separate, quite a different crowd, gang if you like. They're an interesting group of people. They're really proud of their cars, they spend a lot of money on them, but use the antisocial sort of behaviour, and some of them are, as you've seen on the media, have just been really antisocial and quite violent towards police and the public. It's a battle we're trying to deal with them. We've had a few COVID operations where we just had a camera, just identified drivers for a month or so, and then just go and impound cars that were identified. Hopefully there'll be better legislation coming out that we can crush them. So we're sort of hoping for that, and still focusing on them. They don't come out in big groups like they used to Waimak, and certainly not to Hurricane, as you see on our roads. They're still leaving some nice marks around the place. Cameras out here, the cameras we have, have been very useful in identifying. We impounded someone's car in Cheviot recently for doing burnouts.
So the new directives and what will be coming down is it's nothing. It's nothing like there's the manpower and the gear to do what they're asking now, or is it?
The boy races.
Well, the boy races and the gangs, but basically the get tough on crime thing coming down from one of them.
Yeah, we're getting there. Like at the moment, they've just put out an ad for the new gang unit, which is going to be Christchurch based, right? And it's going to be for the whole South Island. They're asking for applications to join that gang unit, which will be focusing on gangs, and it'll be made up of a sort of a tactical side of things, plus a more of an intel side, and they'll work together. And they'll really target those gangs, we're hoping. But then we've got the gang patch legislation, which is going to be an interesting beast. How we deal with it and how we enforce it is yet to be seen. But I'm certainly not going to be asking my staff to stop 20 bikes on the side of the road and say, can you hand your patch over, please? Yeah, we're going to see how we do deal with that.
Cool, thanks, Robbie. Question from Tom and then Vanessa.
Yeah, this is the question that I submitted earlier. In Hanmer a few years ago, we lowered a lot of the speed limits in and around the town. And people aren't taking any notice of those speed limits. You know, the 70s that went down to 50, and the 50 down to 30. Is there any way we can request or plea for maybe a bit of a blitz to come in and enforce those speed limits? You know, we're not blaming. It's everybody. It's not one group of people. It's not tourists. It's not locals. It's both. Is there any way you can actually sort of put in a plea to say, you know, could we have a bit of a blitz on those roads and try and bring it down? You know, publicise it in advance, even just to say we're going to look for these things and try to bring those speed limits, driving habits down.
Yeah, I sent a memo out to the highway and local staff up there yesterday when I got that email. So hopefully they'll focus on that more. But is there anywhere in particular? In general?
Arglins Road is one that goes up past the golf course. There's Arglins, Jacks Pass Road, and probably the sections of Woodbank. Yeah, Rippingale is also mentioned, but that's probably less of a problem.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep the focus on the pressure on the guys up there.
That's great. Thanks, Tom. Sorry, Vanessa.
Sorry, no. Rob, I'm part of the North Canterbury Neighbourhood Support. Do you have the resources to facilitate or to send through local crime reports to the group that can be distributed to each neighbourhood? Can I get your phone number and discuss it with you?
Yeah.
Point?
Yeah, I'll leave a card with you.
Please, thank you.
Cool.
Oh, so I was just going to ask, there's an initiative, around what we're going to call community citizens on patrol, basically. And I was just wondering if that's if there's merit there, what sort of work they could do with a group like that, you know, double up with your camera watches or, you know, sort of thing. Do you see that as being something that's helpful or?
Around Amberley.
Yeah.
Yeah, very helpful. Any eyes and ears are always helpful. That's what we need. We aren't a very big force around here, and there's usually only one or two on, especially at night. So we used to have radios that we could share with the Town Watch type organisations and the Rangioras and Crime Boys, but because we're all digital now, we can't do that. But it's just a cell phone, a call through the comms. There's not suspicious people hanging out at the golf course or whatever. It's registration numbers, all that sort of things we can talk about and discuss what we require. But yeah, that'd be great.
So the similar is with the app coming where it's called where did that one get to? Is that one catching on or it was trialled?
I had a meeting with those guys the other day, the Rural Lookout. The app is going okay, not fantastic. We're still getting reports through, but not a huge buy from Perunui. Oxford probably more focus has been out here, but there's been a big uptake, and the offer of a 30% discount on a come and do a security survey and using cameras and alarms and things. So that's been a good goal.
Yeah. So did that flyer just go to rural?
It's sort of picking on certain areas like your Greenfield and Leithfield.
Yeah, we got one at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're still focused on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was keen to understand about the rural outlook as well, so.
Yes.
Because is it coming out of, is it still in the pilot or is it, because we're almost there?
2-year pilot.
Yeah, but it'll be almost coming to the end of that though, won't it?
Yeah, but that's still being funded surprisingly at the moment.
Okay,
It
Yeah.
got some good results, and
yeah,
I
okay,
looked into the same camera system and suppliers that we use for the spread out as well.
Yeah. That's good, thanks for raising that. Dave, I think you had a question.
Sort of frame up how I'm thinking. I've heard a lot about everybody about its catching and its all those type of things. I'm more interested in the positive about what are we doing to change some of these behaviours, and I draw on past experience where I used to do community service with guys and change their lives. So tell me some of the positive things of where you've changed someone's life in Amberley and they're not heading down that pathway of self-perpetuating path of having every day off in court, and where is there initiatives like that happening? Maybe I talk off online. I just find everything so negative.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we unfortunately deal with a lot of negative stuff. So it's quite satisfying for me personally, having worked rural in Amberley for 10 years and in Tibia, and coming back here, and I get young fellas, one turned up yesterday and said, "Oh no, thanks very much, you changed my life, just the way you deal with them as a rural guy." And I thought, oh, I remember him, and he was quite a bad little offender, but now he's a builder and got his own building company in Christchurch. But, good on you, cool. You give them a chance and you work with them and things, so that sort of thing is a positive story. And I guess nationally, I was reading the article this morning, I think, with about the boot camp. That looks pretty positive to me, and similar to what we've done and I've worked on before in schools. Just it's that army style approach and working with young people to give them different options and different skills and try and find them jobs like the Mayor's Task Force and things. Those sort of initiatives rurally are easy to achieve, I think, in our town. So,
It just frustrates the hell out of me. Like, I've run survival school days for young guys. Things like at 8 o'clock at night, make sure you have a bag of fish and chips and a couple of pies, because then at 12 o'clock at night, you're actually going to make 2 life-changing decisions. And I won't say what the second one is, but you can think about it. The first is whether you're going to hop into a car over the alcohol limit. And the second one could cause a lot of child support. So if you make some right decisions at 12 o'clock, they can save you a lot of money. But we're also damn PC, we can't do things like that anymore.
So I send them your way on.
But that's a survival day, and getting them installed as a criminal prosecutor and being a defence lawyer, and it's all about having a job. If you have a job and they're busy or playing sport, and I don't know how we do it, but we've got to direct them to be playing sport in Amberley, just not give up on them, and so I find it frustrating
with your driver licensing as well, because that's a huge barrier to get employment. So,
but then you've got your barrier, you can't go and do your theory. And I got one guy I did work with locally, to a point I was so frustrated at getting his license back, 5 or 3 forms of ID that I had to get. So one of them, I went to the probation office in Rangiora because I thought, surely I can get ID from them, and then a birth certificate. But it was such a process that most people would give up. But I'm just not close. But we need people to be doing that.
we need good mentors like you're saying, like yourself, things to help people through. So.
I feel big frustrations must be working with the parents.
Yeah, very much so. And, single parents, it's tough for them and they haven't got the skills either.
So you can sit down with these guys. This is a prior experience. And you can sit down, because I do community service with them, and you sit down and work out, you got 250 hours, 150 hours, how many Saturdays is that, right? We can do this in 35 hours a week. Don't mess me around. 6-8 weeks of doing this, I'll find you a job. Don't let me down, you know? And a packet of smokes is a reward. And respect, 17 guys I did, 2 failures, had New Zealand's worst criminal that everybody in Darklands says. He stayed out of trouble for 3 years, an MP, and then that was when that started. And he gravitated back, but he was trying. Just in the community, we've got to actually do something. And I'm sorry, but I get frustrated.
Not the only one.
Robert, it's great that you acknowledge the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs program and what the community team are doing to try and support our young people and to believe in themselves, and there's an enormous amount of work that's done to get young people to that point, you know, but I think you know, it is where it's a struggle to actually you know, get the funding, to sustainable funding, and the Mayor's Task Force, which is a really good program, centrally funded, locally led, you know, but that is a program that actually has changed the lives of young people one life at a time, you know. So, you know, we've just got to keep advocating for that and building that bridge to enable people to find their future rather than finding the justice system, because that's the pathway. Yeah, yeah. That's cool. Look, I think we've had some good questions come forward. Robbie, did you have another question?
Just a quick one. I'm thinking out of my son's under-7 rugby team, 20-odd kids back then, 3 of them have gone through and been in trouble with the law. I think one of them might still be in prison now. And you've watched them right from there, and you could sort of see. I was just interested on what you said about the boot camp, as far as an intervention, because okay, one of them's had some almost special needs issues and been a bit of a struggle all the way. But the other two, one's drugs and the other one was just dumb. But you've seen them go in and out all the way from under 7. They were good kids, and then you see that they'll be 30 on that 30, and you can sort of, if at any point, I'd wonder if your thoughts here with the boot camp or any other kind of intervention. Do you see anything working there or something? Because that must be one of the more frustrating things, and you keep dealing with the same ones, you just can't stop them.
Yeah, I mean, our youth aid guys are great too. Anyone we can pick up on and push their way, and they can put them in these different programs that we run out of Burnham and things with the army. Cactus program in the schools and client work runs, which is fantastic. I was involved in, but anything we can do with these kids has got to be good. So yeah, not enough, probably.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, sometimes it's just a single moment of you know, giving someone belief, isn't it? Really, you know.
Role models and
Yeah, that's right. But you know, I think that your team is, you know, doing a really stellar job in that regard. But actually, all of the stuff that we've talked about today, to ensure that, you know, as a community we feel safe, but we can actually act as a role model for, you know, improving behaviours in general, isn't it? Really. Is there any other questions from councillors? Thanks, Rob. It's been a good session. Thank you. We do appreciate you coming along and just giving us a bit of a insight to what's happening, and you know, the tactical team. You know, I mean, there's some new projects probably that are coming your way, our way. You know, which we'll watch with interest, and hopefully, you know, we continue on the path of self-improvement.
A couple of just quickly about staff movements too. We've got a new guy starting in Cheviot 1st of October. In Hyde, he's from Selwyn area. Young fella, motivated those. Deputy Fire Chief down towns down there.
Oh, Cheerio, we're pleased to see him.
Yep.
I got a good fire team up there.
It's Bill Parker. He's going to be moving to the coast.
Oh.
Where he's from. He's got a house over there, so he's off roughly at the same time. So that job's just been advertised for Amberley too. so-
Right, okay. So you'll get a replacement in Amberley to replace Bill, yeah, okay. Okay, we'll report that to Vince about, Ben coming into Cheviot in October, that's good, he'll be pleased, because we didn't talk about it recently, but I know he was concerned
Yes,
that there was,
Jeff will come down.
Yeah. oh, good stuff, excellent, good as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rightio, councillors, that does bring our presentation meeting to a close. Welcome Fiona, it's good to have you with us. And yeah, so with that, we might just take a wee bit of time, but we'll close off the meeting anyway.